everyone. Welcome to Tiffany Fits. Today I have in the building a new doctor. There's a doctor in the house. I want to welcome again for a second interview. Come on, he keeps blessing me and so many others. Reverend Dr. Rohin Beach is here.
Thanks for having me, Tiff.
Thank you for being here. Today we're going to touch on a little bit of faith, courageous leadership, culture, and raising the next generation. Dr. Beach, congratulations on earning your doctorate in courageous leadership from Drew University. What does this achievement mean to you, and how has it shaped your ministry path going forward?
Well, first off, I'm glad I'm here at your show for the second time. I'm glad I'm able to be a part of what you're doing here. When we talk about culture and we're talking about the next generation, you're really doing it. The part of my dissertation was all about being able to bring culture along with the new church or what the church looks like. And so the reason why I wanted to make sure I got my doctorate was because I wanted to bring credence to my ideas. So for the last 20 years, I've been bringing hip hop and church together. I'm not the only one, but I've just been doing it in a courageous way in the area that we're in. Most of the Baptist churches that we're connected with, you get to see traditional Baptist church, you get to see what church culture looks like, but you rarely get to see the melding of both hip hop culture and church culture. And so my dissertation and my work for the last 3 years has been, how do I meld both of them together? Because I believe that a Black church can learn from hip hop culture by using some of the elements of hip hop, not the negative elements, but just the idea
There's a lot of positive,
of a lot of.
a lot of positive.
And so I focus on storytelling. Because storytelling is big in the Black church, very also big in hip hop.
You are a great illustrator, especially, of course, in your preaching and, of course, in your music.
You know what I get that from? Comedians.
Get out of here.
So I don't watch pastors preach. I watch comedians because it's all about timing. It's all about telling stories. It's all about connecting with the audience. It's all about improv. Because while I'm standing there, obviously the Spirit is speaking through me, but I got to be open to see what's going on in the room. So those elements from different cultures help me in a presentation when it comes to preaching.
My brother here is he's a walking professor. So, a lot of us always just take his nuggets and apply it to our own lives. Because I'm an illustrator in my preaching. So I'm always learning. Every time any conversation, you're going to walk away with something from Dr. Beach. I love saying that. Now, for those who may not know you, can you share a bit about your journey and how you became known as the sneaker preacher?
But that's funny because my journey is long and I don't want to take up all your time, but at the same time, I've always been a kid who, well, at the time I was a kid, I loved hip hop, and it was hard to put together my love for hip hop and my growing love for who God is for me. And what I mean by that was God was my grandmother's God for a long time.
Of course.
Because she made me go to church. She made us go to church. And so it was like, I'm born because she's making me. It wasn't until I became like maybe 16, 17, I thought I realized like this God that saved me through the street is a God that really is my God. But I still had this love of hip hop. So it was like, how do I love Wu-Tang? How do I love Nori? How do I love all of this? And I'm still going to church and listening to choirs and loving that too. So I was able to put that together by understanding that God speaks through different ways. And for me, he drew me closer to him by music, hip hop, and this presentation. And so at this point, like when I came to like, how do I get to this point where I love ministry? It came from just loving people, just going around the world, all of the missionary trips I was able to go on. It helped me understand that anytime you want to interact with people, you don't enter the room thinking that you know everything.
That's right.
You enter the room expecting to learn something. And so all of the stuff that I've been doing at Community Baptist Church, shouts out to Community Baptist Church for allowing me to start off as a assistant pastor. Well, I used to start off as a youth pastor, now the assistant pastor. That's all because I never stepped into the room thinking that I should have something. I just worked my way up until allowed the work to speak for me.
Yes, I admire your humility, and that it's also a boldness because you changed the culture. You were one of the ones in the area that just had a different ministry and kept going. You kept pressing through, even I'm sure you're not always understood.
No, I got criticized all the time.
Really?
So I started off, the first time I preached ever, I was 19, right? So I did my initial term, I was 19. So I'm out preaching and all that kind of stuff. And as you evolve as a person, you start to evolve in different ways. First tattoo, and then I get an earring. So I'm wearing an earring. I'm preaching in Elizabeth. I never forget. I'm preaching 11 o'clock service in Elizabeth, and I'm about to go out, and the pastor taps me and say, "Son, you got to take the earring out." And at that point, I didn't really know how to be like, "Nah, this is what I do." I had to take the earring out. Then I looked on his wall. He didn't have any degrees on his wall. And I said to myself, if I'm gonna start calling the shots, I'm gonna make sure I got something on the wall to facilitate and solidify what I'm asking somebody. So my journey really started from there. It was more like, I'm gonna check you. You check me, but I'm gonna check.
That's the things we learn through podcasts. I love it. I love it. Now, you've authored children's books rooted in faith. What inspired you to write for young readers, and how does your spiritual walk influence your storytelling?
Well, first off, I think my spiritual walk deepened as I became a dad. Is a level of faith that I had to step into as a dad. And the reason why I say that is because my dad wasn't there my whole life.
Right.
So stepping in to become a father, I was trying to figure out how do I do what I never saw. Like obviously I helped my brother and sister, grow up. I raised them, changed the diapers and all that. When I was 9 years old, but that's different here. Like you babysit your brother and sister, your sibling, you drop them off to your mom, like, all right, I'm going out. As a dad, there's no drop off, it's none of that. So it took a level of faith for me to be consistent in their life. And that not only consistent, but understand their life from their perspective. And so that's where writing stories from their perspective for them came. We were up one night, me and Jaxon before Miles was born. And for those who don't know, I have two sons. Jaxon is 7 and Miles is 5. And so Jaxon comes first, and we're reading a book written by what's his name, LeBron James.
Okay.
Right? So it's all about being brave. It's all about being a stand-up character and all that. And I'm like, LeBron James is not. He hasn't been to school. He hasn't, he's not in that lane, but he's a dad. And I'm like, I'm in that lane, and I'm a dad. I tell stories. I'm an MC. I know what it is to put it together. So I went on the first journey to write down in my phone my first story, and that was Jackson's first pitch.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jackson's first pair is a story about me taking Jaxon for his first pair of sneakers. And the reason why I wrote about sneakers is because my love for sneakers,
Yeah.
my love for being a dad, my love for my son, and it's really about a father and son going out to buy sneakers together. There's something special about sneakers. I can't tell you about that. You got to read it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a good book.
But the idea is for Jaxon and friends like Jaxon or kids like Jaxon to see themselves in a story, and then see dad taking son out, and both of them are men of color. And I thought that was really important.
And it isn't. This is important book in Black culture, and the way you cultivated it into a children's book really is an inspiration to me. Always out the box. Your ministry stays outside of the box. Now, how do you balance so many roles? Author, chaplain, assistant pastor, and now, of course, you have your doctorate in ministry, along with husband. Hello, Nellie. Um, to your beautiful wife, Janelle, and father. How do you balance so many roles?
Some of those roles, they bleed into one another. So as assistant pastor, I have the privilege of being able to, excuse me, assist the senior pastor, Pastor Lester Taylor, and all the work that he does. But part of that assistant isn't just, first off, I don't answer phones for him. I'm not his assistant. I'm an assistant in ministry. He has been an assistant for that. But what I do assist him in is the ministry of the church. Um, reaching out to people and, inserting ourselves in their lives and uplifting them in certain ways. And so that comes natural for me. So that's a little bit easier to step into. And the reason why I say all of them kind of bleed into one another is because I do the same thing for the Englewood Police Department.
Yes.
They don't ask for much. It's just a matter of if there's an issue, can you talk to this officer one-on-one? Can you come in and encourage the guys before they go out? Can you pray during the ceremony? Things of that nature. And then the rest of the stuff, as far as being a dad, that comes first for me. I'm Janelle to tell you, I take the boys to school every morning. I'll pick them up when I can, but most of the time I'm doing drop off in the morning, and then helping them with homework at night. I spend a lot of time. What helped me was COVID. COVID helped me kind of balance ministry life, because what we would do when we were online only, we would record on like a Tuesday, and then we would post everything on Sunday morning. So I'll be home on Sunday morning watching with everybody else. And then after service is over, we would go in the backyard, put some food on the grill,
Family time.
family time. And so even when the doors opened up, I kind of kept that going. What are we doing this week for the boys? What birthday parties they got to go to? All right, I'm going to revolve my schedule around that. Nope, can't make it the meeting with the chaplains. Can't do that. I got to do it on a separate day. And I felt like if I prioritize my family, everybody else will prioritize it too.
And you are a very active father because, even when we schedule, I have a schedule. I notice I'm scheduling around the kids. So that is great.
Thank
I appreciate you for being an active father in times like these. Now, what is the most rewarding part of serving as assistant pastor at the Community Baptist Church?
The fact that one is this, there's never been a role like this. And I'm saying that from reading the history of Community Baptist Church. There's never been an assistant pastor. That's never been a role. So I'm honored that pastor kind of said, listen, this is what we're going to create for you because I see potential in you. So I don't walk in like, don't speak to me or all that because I'm like, it didn't have to be like this.
No, he is very humble, very approachable.
Thank you.
As per pastor, Pastor Titler is a very approachable.
When you got a mentor like that, you kind of learn from him. And so one of the most rewarding things is to be able to see multi-generations touched by my ministry. So my focus when I first came back was, let me focus on building up the youth ministry, make sure that the youth feel comfortable at our church, like they have a voice and they're active in church. And then that grew into speaking to the seniors and teaching not Sunday school, teaching strength at noon online. Also just being online with Pastor. Pastor kind of, he worked with me, allowing me to speak when he wasn't there online. And that's when we had like 10,000 people watching on 6 o'clock in the morning. And so he shared that with me. And that didn't just help me become a better communicator. It helped people understand my heart. So now you had people who are 17, 18 years old listening to me. Their parents are listening to me. And their grandparents are also listening to me. And they're saying, oh, we get it now.
Yeah.
He's not just trying to be radical and just saying off the wall stuff. He's really trying to tap into culture.
Thank you. Now, as chaplain with the Englewood Police Department, what are some of the meaningful or unexpected moments that you've experienced, if you can't share? You might not be able to share.
Well, one of the main things that was really important to me was we had a tragic shooting in Englewood a few years ago. Young brother, last name was Pasid, and his family were rocked by the 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 way that the police handled this shooting. He was a young man who was dealing with some mental issues at the time, and the police were called, and unfortunately his life was taken by one of the officers. And I had to step into the role that was controversial in some ways. Because as a chaplain, some people, not the officers, I never heard anything from the officers, but some people believe that I should have been on the side of the police department only. But I told them as a chaplain,
Right.
I'm on the side of justice. I'm on the side of what God has called me to do as a chaplain. So I had to stand in those meetings that were, upsetting for a lot of people, to say the least. They were challenging. They were filled with a lot of anger because the people of the town wanted the answers from the police that they weren't given. And as I stood there with the Justice for Placide family as a chaplain, that wasn't really well for some people. But again, I said, you're not hired.
Right.
This is a volunteer role.
Absolutely.
So I do things strategically. I don't speak a lot, but I'm smart in what I'm doing. So they didn't have anything to say because I was always on the side of the family or any family for that matter. They understood, the department understood because I told them I had stood with the family at the funeral. When it came to his the memorial for his death, I went to the graveside again because I wanted to make sure people understood as a minister of the gospel, I'm not on the side of any political party. I don't take any payment from anybody who was outside of church. And for me, it was important for the family to know that there was at least a minister who was on their side from the town. So that was probably the most challenging thing. Other than that, everything is really ceremony. And what I say by that is, if there's ceremony, I'm praying for this, I'm praying for that. It's not really the ride along that you see on TV and all that. But it's been rewarding because I get to see the side of police that a lot of us don't get to see.
Right.
So I understand they just want to go home to their kids just like we want to go home.
Peace with their mind to deal with the day.
So that was probably the most one, two of the most rewarding that I.
And thank you for your service because, you know, we see you walking around, but we don't know what you're doing behind the scenes. So thank you. Thank you for your service to the police department and our community.
You up.
You have been described as someone who stretches and empowers others to walk powerfully in their gifts. I've sometimes here a little bossy with, you know, some of us. Um, why is this mission so important to you? I will give you an example. When I first became a minister, I was trying to hide. And when he would walk up to me, he'd be like, Tiffany, why are you trying to hide in the middle of the room? So he give me an assignment. And I'm like, man, I was trying to hide today. But, you know, that's him pushing, seeing, always speaking about what he sees on you and what he sees in you. So thank you for that.
You welcome.
But as I said, why is this mission so important to you?
Because one, for me, it's always about authenticity. And I always learn you got to be a man of your word, a person of your word.
Right.
All you got is your word, and you know what you're gonna do. You should say what you're gonna do and do it, right? And for a lot of us, especially in the context of ministry, some people say that they're called a ministry, but they're scared to do the ministry. Like, what?
I used to now.
Right? Like, I always the way that I look at it, sport, like being on the basketball team, you don't suit up, you don't sit on the bench, hoping that the coach don't call you in. You suit up, you go to practice, you take all that time, invest in all that time, all that sweat and all that, get your body right, sit down, and you hope to get in. My frustration is sometimes with ministers is that you do all that work.
Right.
You sit down and you look down the road, hoping pastor don't call you. So what I do is I'll be the bad guy. So if I really think that you can do it. And I'm only asking you to do something that's in your lane.
Right.
And you keep it real. You told me you had some issues or whatever. You was like, I can't do this right now. And I always work with you.
Yes, he has.
And so my idea is not to put people in places where they're uncomfortable, but to improve and empower yourself. You gotta fall and fail forward. That's how I did. Pastor would just tell me day of, or maybe he'd be speaking from the pulpit like, all right, Raheem's gonna do X, Y. I wasn't ready, but I had no opportunity to say no.
Right. You know, you did not. No, you did not. And, you know, witnessing your journey from, I think I witnessed you receive, you get your license or your minister to now doctor. So, you know, he pushes us on a journey because now I'm ready for pretty much everything. I'm excited about ministry. And so thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, how has your creativity integrated your love for sneakers, culture, your ministry to better connect with the younger generation?
Well, first of all, I was given, I think you had asked a little bit earlier, but I was given the name Sneaker Preacher because I was in Baltimore. Baltimore, shout out to people in Gulf, man. That showed me love when I moved down there. I moved down there because I had an opportunity to become the youth pastor at Bethel AME Church in Baltimore. So I go down, and while I'm down there, they realize I'm wearing sneakers every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I may have slacks on, I may have a suit on, but I have a pair of kicks on, and it's not the same pair of kicks every Sunday. So one of the guys who was recording the services, he was like, "Man, you tell stories and we put figures on all the time. There's something there. There's something there." He's like, let's record something just one on one. You just gonna tell stories, and I want to see you wearing sneakers and all that." And he was like, "I got it. We're gonna call you the sneaker preacher." And I was like, "Oh, I like it. Let's roll with it." And that was my way of not only just connecting with the people in church, but people outside of church. So people who may not know, downtown Baltimore is like being in Brooklyn. So yeah, it is. If you don't know somebody, you don't need to be out there. And my culture, the church that I got to serve at was the actual church that was in the show, the series, The Wire. So that whole hood around there, I walked around Dolphin Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, all around there, and people grew to love me because I was just being me.
Yeah, you're hard.
That's it. Regular conversation. And so that's how sneakers were tied into it, the creativity. I would do things at schools, like volunteer at the schools, and I'll make sure that teachers had supplies throughout the year. And so the teachers would say, the sneaker preacher donated. He's from this church. The kids started saying, oh, when's the sneaker preacher coming back? So when I came back to Jersey, the serve at community, it was already a moniker that I was working with. And then I solidified it as not a ministry of business. So the Sneaker Preacher LLC is a business that I developed while I go into schools, and I'm a motivational speaker that allows me to write books that are not fully faith-based, but they are faith-inspired. but also be able to go into the schools and develop programs with students along with their teachers to help them become better students.
So please visit the Sneaker Preacher.
Sneakerpreacher.com.
Again, it's listed. It's going to be somewhere on this screen. The sneakerpreacher.com. Visit today.